Each year, athletes from across the globe converge on Haines City, Florida, test the limits of their bodies and the resilience of their spirits at Ironman Florida 70.3. This documentary invites you behind the scenes of an athlete's return to triathlon after a forced 4-year hiatus, a story of grit, ambition, and unwavering dedication. From early morning swims to relentless training rides beneath the hot and humid summer sun and pounding footfalls on winding roads, we will witness the evolution of a competitor with a humble and grateful heart striving for redemption. But this is more than a race. It is a voyage through adversity and triumph. Through moments of doubt and bursts of inspiration, there will be setbacks and surprises, victories large and small, and the discovery of the true meaning of perseverance. Join us as we chronicle the milestones and missteps, the sweat and celebration culminating in one unforgettable day. This will not only be a tale of athletic determination, but a portrait of the human spirit, undaunted, unbreakable, and ever reaching for the extraordinary. Welcome to Ironman Florida 70.3, an endurance athlete's journey. Welcome, everyone, to Ironman Florida 70.3, an endurance athlete's journey. I'm your host, Coach Justin, head coach and owner of Tabula Rasa Racing. I am coming to you with week 16. This is the final week of preparation for Ironman Florida 70.3 down here in Haines City, Florida. It is December of 2025. The race is on the 14th. So this is Saturday. The race is actually tomorrow. So I'm coming to you a little bit earlier. I am down here in Haines City, so this is where we're staying. Everything is checked in, so I wanted to come to you and kind of produce this video now rather than wait, and then I'll come out with a follow-up on the actual race report on how everything goes tomorrow as I toe the line at Ironman Florida 70.3. We left on Thursday, and we got Thursday night, so we've been here for 2 days now, just trying to acclimate and kind of just take it easy a little bit. This has kind of been I'd say it's a little bit of a stressful week. This is the third week that I've been dealing with the posterior tibia tendonitis. I wish I could say that it's getting better. It has improved slightly, still doing some therapies on it. It still is a bit challenging to walk still. And so I'm going in tomorrow really kind of having to dig deep and really kind of trust God that he's going to come through and fill in the gap on things that I can't provide. So I have no idea if I'm going to be able to run, what that half marathon is going to feel like. I know that today I got into the lake at Lake Ava and did a couple small loops that they had. So it was a practice swim today down here at the expo. And I'm glad that I got into the lake. I got into the wetsuit just to kind of see what it was like swimming in that lake. And the temperature was in the upper 60s, even though the outside temperature was in the 70s, maybe lower 80s today. Full sun. Outside, it feels good. That water was quote unquote refreshing is the only way that I can kind of explain it. It took me a while to kind of get into it. I just splashed some water on my body a couple times and really kind of doused my head before jumping in. I think that that's kind of important to kind of so that the body doesn't completely go into shock going into that cold water. Now, whether that's possible on race day, because Ironman is not known for allowing us into the water early. So they shut down the practice swim. I believe it was at 1 o'clock. And so nobody was allowed in the water after that. So the practice swim was between 11 and 12:45. They had like a little, I think it was about 250, maybe 300 yards worth of swimming that you could do. So you basically swam to the first buoy and then cut all the way over and then did another turn back towards the swim finish. So you could swim as many loops as you wanted, but you only really got a feel for what it was like close to the shore. And it was a little bit unnerving. It caught me off guard a little bit, as much as I could actually see, because you're swimming through a lot of vegetation that is in the lake closer to the shore. I believe Lake Ava is a pretty shallow lake. I don't know what it's like deeper out into the middle, but I was swimming through a lot of vegetation, getting stuff caught up on my hands, and I could actually see kind of like the vegetation through my goggles. And so it was a little creepy. I'd much prefer it to either be crystal clear or completely cloudy to where you can't see anything. That's kind of what my preference would be. So it was kind of opaque, and it was just like your imagination starts to run a little wild a little bit, because clearly they can't get rid of all the wildlife out of the lake. But we were told at the athlete briefing that there are alligators in the lake, but they're only really, really small ones, that they capture the larger ones and they take them out to the Everglades and to the other forest wetlands. And so the only ones that are in there are really small ones, and they're buried into the mud. But if you have a deeper swim stroke rather than a nice shallow one, you'll be pulling through some vegetation as you swim. But then again, I don't know what it's like out further into the lake, but I did get that experience of swimming. And so now I know kind of what to expect when you first get in, and the rest will be a new experience. But it was cold, but I felt strong. I felt fast in the water. I felt like I actually swam easy. Yesterday, I was able to get in to the pool that they have right at the venue. There was a nice like lap lane pool. Huge shout out to the lifeguards that worked there. They closed at 4:30, which I didn't know. And we got there and I was swimming some laps, and I had 3x700s on the schedule to swim. I got through the first two intervals, and I still had just one 700 left. And I was told that the pool had closed like 10 minutes ago. And so I asked the lifeguard, I was like, please, could I just finish my last 700? And she was totally gracious, and a huge appreciation and thank you to them for allowing me to get my full workout in. That was a nice, solid progressive. So I swam that last 700 pretty strong because I was trying to finish as quickly as possible so I didn't, kind of wear out their graciousness. And I saw a pace that I wouldn't have seen unless I was wearing a wetsuit. So that gave me a huge boost of confidence going into tomorrow, that if I could swim that kind of pace without the wetsuit, I just had a pull buoy. And so I felt pretty good. I felt solid in the water, and which it didn't start that way. When I first started the 700, I felt really, really slow and sluggish, and I just felt like I was barely moving. But when I finished it and I looked at my watch, and I was like, oh, that was faster than what I kind of thought it was. So sometimes the mind plays tricks on you when you get closer to race day. You start to feel slow and sluggish, but really I don't know if it's just a trick of the mind, but the fitness is there and the endurance is there. Now it's just a mental game of trying to stay in the moment and stay present and really kind of trust the process that you've gone through over the past, for me, it's been 16 weeks, but really this has been a year in the making, because I started January 1st on my road back to triathlon. And so this has been a full year's worth of training, and things have gone well. Things have gone not so well, but I'm here today simply by the grace of God that I'm here, and that I have this opportunity to race my 9th half Ironman over the past 10 years that I've been doing this. So I'm completely humbled and really thankful that God has allowed me and provided the way for me to do this. As for the rest of the week, this was the second week of taper, and I was really kind of hoping that the ankle was going to start loosening up. I had PT a couple times with Dr. Tricia, and she worked on kind of unlocking that ankle. It was super stiff, super locked up. Even the big toe joint was really, really stiff and not very flexible, which is really challenging if you're a runner. But she worked really hard to try and give me some kind of mobility. I've been continuing to do my PT exercises since then here at the condo down in Florida. And, tonight I'm going to jump into the Normatec, and I'll spend a little bit of time with the Theragun, just working on, my hamstrings and my quads and my calves, just the back of the leg kind of stuff, and not putting any kind of direct percussion on the tibia tendon, because I don't want to irritate that anymore. This week was a pretty solid week. I think I got in about 7 hours of training. So this is a full taper for me relative to how much I have been doing. So, taper, if people say, well, that's still a lot of hours for taper, but it's relative to what your peak weeks were, is how you really kind of set your volume for taper. It's not a one size fits all. It's not like, oh, you shouldn't be training more than 5 hours. But, if your total weekly volume on average at the peak of your training was 8 hours, then yeah, 5 hours is still a lot of training actually relative to what your peak was. But my peak was close to 20. And so I'm putting in 7, which is, it's a third of what my peak volume was. But that's pretty much right on track. Normally, I would want to be around 25% because I would have reduced it by 25% the previous week. And so, I still think that the 7 hours is pretty solid. I got into the cold plunge tub once to soak my legs and get that heat out. I got in, I think it was five bike sessions, just a couple, just fine tuning, nice race prep bikes. So I think there was a ramp up workout on Monday. The day that I had a massage, I did a nice flush. One day I did some big gear work. So it was a big gear pyramid that I did. I really wanted to kind of see what my leg was going to feel like by putting some harder pressure on the pedals and being able to drop those heels and able to get to generate the power, because this is a rolling course. And so I need to make sure that I can stress that ankle out, and I got the mobility in the ankle to generate power on the bike. That bike workout went really well. I took a quick spin today on a part of the bike course, just coming out of transition to kind of see what it was like. I will say that probably the first 3 miles of the start course, the bike course for the race, is really kind of, I would say chaotic is the best way that I could kind of explain it. It was just me out there, but there were a lot of cars. And so the cars won't be an issue because they closed the streets, but you're talking 2,000 cyclists that are out there going through these roads. So we're not all going out at the same time, but there's going to be a lot of cluster. There's a lot of turns. So you're coming up and down out of arrow position. I would dare say that, a lot of people just don't have very good bike handling skills anyway because they ride a lot outdoors or indoors. So my concern is, well, what's those first 3 miles going to be like in the heat of competition? And I really have to be present, paying attention. It's not the time to be, taking in gels and chews and, drinking out of water bottles and stuff like that. That is not the time to do it. It's not a time to be messing around with electronics and all that kind of stuff. You have to be on point, really focused on what's going on and the people that are around you. Just to be safe, because those first few miles of any bike race as part of a triathlon is the most chaotic, especially around that mount and dismount line. You have to kind of pay attention as to what's going on. I have a feeling that once I get kind of past those first 3 miles, that things will start to space out a little bit. The roads will straighten out. There won't be so many curves. And once that happens, the good cyclists will be able to just get down an arrow and just hammer it and just get out of the way. And so I'm hoping to find that it will start to lengthen out and we'll get some good spacing, and it won't be just a simple draft fest that goes out there and you're trying to maintain distance so you don't get busted for drafting. So that was it for the bike training. Like I said, I got in 5 sessions this week. I think they were good quality taper race tuning kind of sessions. And so I'm happy. I believe I got in like 4 or 5, probably around 4 elliptical sessions as well. One of those sessions just wasn't really good. And it's always the one that's in the evening because I come into it fatigued. The ankle is kind of mad at me by that time of the day. And then to try and force it to do, a 40 to 50 minute elliptical session, it just gets really pissed off. And so it didn't really go well and it got me a little frustrated. But then the following morning, I came back and did a short session on the elliptical, and I felt perfectly fine. So it's not consistent issues that are always there. It's time of day, my level of activity is really going to determine on the healthiness of that ankle. So tomorrow is going to be a true test of my faith because, I'm probably going to come into it pretty fatigued off of the bike, but you know, I I I don't have any other choices other than just to not race and to just not run. And that's not me. That's not who I am. I'm believing that when I step off that bike in the second transition and I go out for my run, that my ankle is going to be fine and that God's going to allow me to execute a plan, and it's his plan, and that I will be able to go out and have a good time and enjoy the test of my body. He's allowed me to do this for over the past 10 years, and I'm truly thankful and grateful to him that he's allowed me to be a competitor for this long, given, I've still had issues over the past year, so this is kind of nothing new. But this is new in terms of I'm going into race day really not all that healthy. And if I didn't have my faith, I would truly be questioning my ability to do anything, and I probably wouldn't be here. I probably would have just said, I'm not racing. But then again, I do have my faith, and I believe that this race was given to me by God, and that he's not going to bring me these 16 weeks and bring me down here just to have me fail and fall on my face. I'm going into it believing and having faith and trusting him. I don't really know what else to really talk about. It's been a nice time with my wife, and both of my sons came. So I have a really strong support crew, and I'm so incredibly grateful and thankful that they've come down with me. I couldn't ask for a better partner in Stephanie, that, she's been completely gracious and setting aside things that she would like to do to focus on, providing an experience for me and being helpful and just catering to things that I need in preparation for this race. So she has a servant's heart, and I couldn't say thank you enough to her. Like I said, both of my kids came. This is kind of like what they've grown up doing almost, because like I said, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and my oldest son, he'll be 25 in January. So, both of them have grown up, going to races and, being my Sherpa and all that kind of stuff. And so that the fact that they've come down, even with my older son, being, older and on his own, he still came down to support. So I'm really thankful for that. I don't know. I'm just down here, and I'm still trying to process things, and I don't really know what things are kind of going through my head. Yesterday, for instance, we were walking through the expo, and if you've ever done an Ironman race, they have like these kind of like these shadow box kind of things where, it's like a memorabilia thing where they give you like a race medal, and it's in a frame, and they post like your time. And so it's a really nice decorative piece. And I've got a couple of them at home from previous races. And I think it was my older son. He asked, would you want one of these? And immediately I said, I don't know if I really want one, because if I don't finish, I don't want to have that as a reminder. And that's the first time in the past 10 years, all the races that I've ever done, I've ever questioned on whether I'd finish. So I know that that's definitely not from God. That's definitely something that is coming from the enemy, and he's just messing with my head. He's been in my head for the past 2 to 3 weeks now, making me question things as an athlete and as a coach, and that my trust in God, because like I've said before in other episodes, I have prayed for healing in different parts of my body, but it's never materialized. But God seems to give me the personality and the will to endure them. And so part of me is sitting there thinking, well, I'm having a hard time walking now, and I haven't really done anything. So tomorrow when I step off the bike, what happens when I take that first step and I feel that stabbing pain in my ankle? What do I do? It's almost like I'm preparing myself for God to not heal me and to not step in. But then again, that's not what faith is. That's not what faith and trust is all about. So I have to check myself when those thoughts come through, and I have to say, I have to believe. I have to believe and not prepare for the worst, because that's what true faith is. It's the belief in something that's not seen. And I haven't seen healing yet, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen and that it can't happen. So I just want to thank you guys. This is going to be kind of a short video. I'm tired. I kind of want to do some recovery tonight. So the race is tomorrow morning. We have an early morning out. And so I want to keep this short and sweet, but I want to thank every single one of you who have tuned in. If you haven't watched every episode or listened to every episode, or if you just listened to one, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to listen or watch. If you've gone to the website and looked at workouts, thank you for visiting the website. You know, it's all these little things, but I truly, truly appreciate the time that you guys have spent listening to me and watching me. I've already received a couple messages from people wishing me a good race, best of luck. They've enjoyed the episodes, or they're praying for me, they're excited for me, and that really just kind of like touches me, because I'm an introvert by nature. And so this series of being completely vulnerable about my training for this race has been way outside of my comfort zone. This is not something that I like to do. It's not even something that I really wanted to do, but the thought came to me and it stuck with me and I couldn't shake it. So I knew it was something that God was asking me to do, and he was asking me to step out of my comfort zone. So if anything that I have said over the past 16 weeks has inspired you, has motivated you, or has, reignited a passion in you, then it's all completely worth it. I just want to thank you guys for the support that you've continued to show over this time. And it really means a lot to me. So again, thank you. And I hope that you will continue to visit the website, continue to message me, send me messages here and there. If you have questions about training or anything, I'm a coach and I'm more than happy to help you any way that I can. I am taking on athletes for my 2026 roster. So regardless of what this performance is tomorrow, I believe that there are people out there that I can help, and that it's not my performance that really matters. It's what kind of performance that I can draw out of you is what makes me a good coach. So regardless of how I perform tomorrow, it's how can I get you to perform is what truly matters. And if you believe in my method, you can go to the website, you can see my coaching philosophy. And if it's something that you feel a connection with, please message me. I'm more than happy to talk to you and set something up. If you want to try something new for 2026, or if you just want somebody to take the reins of your training plan and all you do is execute, I would love to speak with you. Subscribe to the podcast of the Endurance Athlete Journey podcast with Coach Katie and I. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel for Tabula Rasa Racing. There'll be more content coming out. I do have the formations of a race calendar next year. So I've already signed up for stuff regardless of what happens tomorrow. So we'll see how that develops. But that's it. That's it from Haines City, Florida. I want to thank you guys for listening, and I will come to you again in the next couple of days and with a full race report once I kind of process how things go. And thank you for joining me in Ironman Florida 70.3, an endurance athlete's journey. I'm your host, Coach Justin, signing off from Haines City, Florida. Thank you very much. Good night.